Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the recovery plug. What's going on, everybody? What's happening, man? Well, happy New Year's or almost happy New Year's. Um, Man, I hope everybody's having a good day. Um, I'm having a pretty good day, I guess. So. I mean, I'm feeling under the weather, man. I've been at the hospital all day today, and man, I've got this. I got a shattered tooth. I ate something and shattered my tooth, so I got a freaking molar that's split in half, and I need to get it removed. But since it's holidays and everything, the dentist is available, so I gotta suffer the pain, and you know it is what it is. But and then I got told that I had the flu, so I got some shots and some medication, and man, so my day wasn't really that good. But I mean, hey, you know what? I'm sober, man. I'm sober and I'm clean today. But so I guess it is good. But you know how I like to get my podcast started always with the moment of silence, followed by the serenity to pray for the addict who still suffers. So if you would, a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, man. Okay, well, you know what? Let's get started, man. So, yeah, it's you do New Year's Eve, and we're fixing to end the year, right? So, I wanted to talk um, about change and how it has been for me in my recovery, in my addiction, and what I had to change to, you know, get to this part of recovery where I'm at now, and in a place where it's healthy and happy and and things are going good for me. You know what I mean? Uh, because it hadn't always been like that. You know what I mean? And so I want to talk about the transformative change in someone's life when they're dealing with addiction, and it is it's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to do because number one, um, nobody wants to be told what to do by someone. You know what I mean? Because when you're having a problem with addiction and that sort of thing, the last thing you want to hear is your family or your friends telling you what the hell to do. You know what I mean? You don't want to hear shit from nobody. But if you want transformative change, it has to come within. You know what I mean? Uh, because I know for myself personally, when people saw that I had this problem or figured, that maybe I was just doing what just wasn't being me or whatever, and I didn't want to hear anybody tell me that, hey man, you need to slow down, or I think it's you don't want to go through that whole intervention thing. You know what I mean? And because 9 times out of 10, when that's happening, the addict doesn't respond. He just doesn't. He responds more in a negative way than in a positive way. That's for sure. Because automatically you think that you're getting you get on the defensive. You know what I mean? So um, it's a here's what I do know, and this is from personal experience, is I knew that I wanted to change. You know what I mean? I got to a point where I was just really, really miserable with how my life was going at one particular point in time, and I needed to change. I wanted it to change, and I knew that the change had to come within. I knew that I was going to have to get on my knees. I was going to have to give up doing me. And I was going to have to be open minded and willing and truthful about that next step. Because if I wasn't, if I was anywhere not close to that, it wasn't going to happen. And I knew that. You know what I mean? Because half measures avails exactly that, half. You know what I mean? So if you're going to put half the effort into wanting to change with it, guess what? You're only going to make it halfway, and halfway isn't sobriety, you know? So it is definitely something that you're going to have to be open minded to, and you're going to have to be willing to do the work, and you're going to have to be acceptance to doing new things and getting rid of the past, the things that have been keeping you down. You know what I mean? And there's a um, I was listening to listening to Jay Shetty. He had a guest on there, and the doctor that he had on there, I don't remember the guy's name, but he had this exercise that he had, and he called it the three F's. You know what I mean? And the three F's were feel, feed, and find. You know what I mean? So I was I when he explained it, I understood, and I was like, okay, I understand, and I'm gonna try that, and it's been working. You know what I mean? And the three F's, meaning feel, feed, and find, is when you get into that situation, into that point where you want to use, or just say for example that you um, like to eat sweets, and at midnight, right about midnight, you get into this urge like, man, I want to eat something sweet, but you know that it's bad for you. You know what I mean? So you want to change that habit. So then you feel. How do you feel about that? How do you feel when you're gonna in that moment? Well, you feel anxious that you want to get this sweet stuff. You know what I mean? But you know that it's not. You shouldn't be eating that because it's not good for you. So then you feed. You know what I mean? So, in other words, when you understand what the problem is, and you understand what it is that you're feeling and why you want that, whatever you're feeling, now you acknowledge that, and now you put the other F in there, which is the feed, and you want to figure out other things to feed that feeling. You know what I mean? So you could say, well, maybe um, I'll choose to eat a banana instead of that donut. You know what I mean? Or, you know what? Maybe I'll take 10 minutes and meditate, and let this craving go away. Or let me call somebody. Let me call somebody, and I'll talk to a friend or whatever, and by the time I'm done with the conversation, I won't be feeling that anymore. You know what I mean? So then the last F is the find. And so when you're doing that feed, you're figuring out what you can feed yourself to get rid of that trigger, that craving. Then you find it and you put it to action. So it was a really good exercise, and you do have to, it's kind of easier said than done, I know, but when you when you want transformative change, it's going to be something that you're going to have to be uncomfortable doing. You know what I mean? Because transformative change is just that. It's changing something 360. I mean, changing something that you're used to into something that is totally different from what you're used to. You know what I mean? Because that's the, you know, as addicts, our environment has probably, I want to say, it's a high percentage of why we are the way we are is the environment that we uh, are in, that we attract. Whatever we have in our environment is going to be exactly what we're going to be a product of. You know what I mean? So if I'm still in the motel and the bando and I'm still hanging out with the same people that I'm in the addiction with, well, then that in itself is toxic, right? And the probability of me changing is going to be pretty low. You know what I mean? Because I might think that I want to change, but if I'm doing nothing to change it, well, then that's what's going to happen, nothing. So, where I'm at now, today, I had to totally transform the change to something positive, something better, something that's healthy. So, I no longer am I in the bando. I'm no longer in the tents. I'm no longer on the street. I'm no longer in the motels. I'm no longer selling drugs to get drugs, to use drugs. I'm no longer putting myself in that environment. So I had to do a drastic change and remove myself from the toxicity, and I enrolled myself in um, a program that, as a veteran, the VA has this transitional facility for veterans who struggle with homelessness and addiction, and that's where I'm at now. So, it was a change that that I had to make. I wasn't comfortable making it because you know I didn't want to go back to this structured and people telling you what to do and that kind of thing. But if I didn't make a drastic transformative change, then it was going to be really hard for me to get into the world of recovery and positivity had I stayed where I was at. And, you know, that is where where the wisdom comes in that you ask your higher power for, because had I not been involved in my higher power and in asking for the wisdom uh, to give me the serenity to accept the things that I can't change, and give me the courage to change the things that I can, and to know the difference between the two. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that I did, because had I said, you know what, no, I'm gonna stay here at the motel still, but I'm gonna change, and the probability of me changing would have been really really low, man, because I would have still been in the motel. I would have still had the girlfriend who used. I would have still, been selling to pay for my food, pay for my room, pay for my habit. It just wasn't gonna happen. So I literally had to remove myself from that toxicity and put myself into healthy boundaries. And the transformative change had to come, but it had to come within first, because had I not went into my spirituality and had a conversation with my higher power to ask him to give me the wisdom to do whatever it is that I have to do, because the willpower was lacking. But when I engaged myself in that wisdom in prayer and in meditation and asking for the help from my higher power, from resources, from people that are in recovery, and decided to take that step and started doing the change so that I can, you know, have a better life, uh, then things started moving. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm glad, and I'm grateful that I'm sitting here today doing this podcast video here, and sharing my story and few of the things that have helped me get to where I'm at today in my recovery and positivity. And yeah, so it is it's imperative that you understand that you really have to be open minded, willing, and truthful, and be ready to change things. Because let me let you in on a little secret. The change is not going to be it's not going to be uncomfortable forever. You know what I mean? That I can guarantee you, because you're going to start liking the transformation, because you're going to start getting healthy. You're going to start, your mind will start clearing up. And if you're doing it the right way and depending on not only yourself, the wisdom within, but depending on being dependent on your higher power, being dependent on the resources that are out there to help you, being dependent on addicts who have gone there before and are still there in recovery, and being involved in your faith-based community, being involved in a recovery community, all of that is a must. You know what I mean? Because it's okay to ask for help. You know what I mean? Because asking for help means that you want to do it your way. And you know as well as I know that our way isn't very good. You know what I mean? Our way is going to get us nowhere. Because if it was going to get us somewhere, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. You know what I mean? So obviously, we weren't doing something right if you're still in the addiction, and if you're still having the problem. Something is lacking. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have to find it within. Sometimes you have to find it from somebody else. Sometimes you have to hear somebody's story to finally get it clicking in your own brain, to say, okay, now I can relate to that. Now I understand that. And so, um, what I like to I guess relay here in this new year that's coming is to be open to transformative change. Be open to new things. Make it a New Year's resolution to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try what this person's doing. I'm going to try what that person's doing. I'm going to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that and see where this takes me. You know what I mean? Because ultimately, that's exactly what you got to do. You have to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and get your life back on track. You know what I mean? Because nobody wants to be in the darkness. Nobody does. But the only way to get out of it is that you have to find the light within and be open minded, be willing, and be truthful, and be ready to do the work. Because change isn't easy. You we're all comfortable with what we're comfortable with. You know what I mean? I know I was. If anything, when things were getting rough and whatever part of my addiction I was in, I didn't want to deal with nothing else but be there. You know what I mean? Even though I was miserable and hated it, you know, I was isolating myself into that addiction, and I, I, I didn't want to deal with anything else. And it was just more, it was, a lot of times as addicts, we believe that it's easier for us just to stay there. You know what I mean? I'm better off just staying here, so I don't gotta bother nobody with my problems, because it's not their problems, it's mine, and I'm just gonna stay here and sulk in the misery. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the way to go about it. You know what I mean? If you want to change, if you want the better life, if you want to kick the habits, no matter which habits they are, it could be addiction to drugs, it could be addiction to alcohol, it could be addiction to food, it could be, you feeling depressed, it could be you dealing with some PTSDs, whatever it is that you're dealing with, that you can change that behavior and you can change those habits by doing drastic, changing, transformative things. And one of the one of the probably most important thing that you're going to have to do is change your environment. That's going to be big. That's going to be probably the biggest obstacle that you're going to have to go through, because changing environments isn't easy for a lot of people, because you know it's hard if you live in a household with somebody who uses, or somebody who's feeding your fire in a sense. You know what I mean? So, to change something like that, that I had to change everything. You know what I mean? I had to change my living, where I was living, what I was doing, how I was making money. I had to change my whole life. My whole life had to change. There's nothing, not one part of any part of my life that what I was doing when I was in the addiction that I'm doing now. None of it. I none of it at all. The things that I'm doing now, I did not do when I was in the addiction. The things that I'm doing now are all healthy and positive, untoxic boundaries. You know what I mean? And the only toxicity that I have is in here. And that's my addictive mind, who tells me every now and then, you know, I really want to use today. But I have the wisdom now to know the difference and how to change that. And I'm grateful for that, man, because, you know, before, I would have went right back. I would have went right back to what I know makes me happy and comfortable, and that's, using. So, um, yeah. So, if you take anything out of this video podcast today, is remember to that if you want something different, then transformative change is critical. It's a must, and how you go about it, it's all up to you. You know what I mean? Because there's different ways to go about it. The ways that I'm talking are the things that have helped me, so I know that they work. They worked for me, and they could possibly work for somebody else. So, there's a lot of different types of programs and ways to do, all of those things. But for me, it just happens to be having a relationship with my higher power and involving myself in a recovery community and in a faith-based community, and, you know, living in a transitional facility, that the VA has, was a must for me. and so it all turned out to be great because now my environment is not toxic. I'm in an environment that's healthy. That I got to be accountable for the things that I do. I'm on, even though I get drug tested here and I have to do a breathalyzer, every time I leave the facility, come back. Those are accountability things, but I'm glad that they're there because it's a reminder of what I need to do. And at the same token, I'm, you know, pretty close to getting my own place again, and I'm really excited about that. Because I wouldn't have been able to do that had I still been in the world of addiction and been out in the street. And I'm grateful to my higher power and to everybody that has been helping me along the way to get to that point. And so I'm right now I'm fixing to move into my new apartment with my daughter, and I'm enrolled in another school that I'm deciding to take a course and stuff, and so yeah, I think things are looking up. Things are starting to move forward in a positive way for me, and it's just weird how that works when you start putting your faith in your higher power and putting faith in people, you know that they're out there, that there's people out there who want to help, and it's just amazing how that all works. But yeah, so it's I'm just grateful, and I encourage you guys to to take that step in this new year. You know what I mean? Let this be your year. Let this be the year that you decide to, you know, get out of that darkness. Let this be the year that you decide to do something different in your recovery if you're already here in this world of recovery positivity, because um, a lot of people need help. And when you out there spreading the message and helping others and sharing your story, that can encourage someone else to also get on the train of recovery and positivity. And that's one of the reasons that I do these video podcasts, because I want to try and help as many homeless people, veterans, people dealing with neurological brain disorders, because I've been there, and I've been in that whole situation. And you know if I'm getting better and things are going good for me, then I want to I want somebody to know that. I want somebody to know that, hey, you know what, it can happen for you too. So well, I guess that's going to be it to close up the year, man. Close up the year and start a new year. I really appreciate you guys watching my video podcast this whole year, man. I started this podcast not knowing what was going to happen, not knowing how to even do videos or anything like that. And I was really, kind of freaked out about it, because I was like, man, how do I do it? You know what I mean? And the more and more that I do it, the better I feel about it. The easier it starts getting for me, and I just love talking about you know the recovery and addiction journey, and sharing things that I've been doing, and reading, and how I'm doing it, and how I'm incorporating meditation and prayer, and all these positive things that I'm doing, and with peer support groups, meetings, all these different things. And to do that, and then to share it with somebody, and to get comments, and to get thumbs up and likes and subscribers, to me that's awesome, because that means that somebody's listening, somebody's being helped, somebody's acknowledging the work, the service. And I just pray and hope that it's helping somebody. I really do. But I guess that's going to be it for the last episode of 2024. Well, the last episode of 2024 for when when the smoke clears, I guess I'm out of here for the year. I am the recovery plug.